Welcome to tonight's live. We're going to be talking about the New York Police Department and the incident that just occurred about 24 hours ago at the subway. Man, this is not a good-looking situation. I'll just say that right off the bat. If you haven't seen, I'm going to play this video on loop a couple of times while people join the live. So you can see for context what we're talking about. First, let me show a picture. And again, I'm going to give you a full breakdown of what we know at this point, at least what I've been able to find online. I am a former police officer. That's my picture down there. I served for 5 years south of Seattle. I can give you a little bit of perspective, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can weigh in a little bit on what it might look like, the public perception. Again, that is one of the biggest ones when we're talking about things that happen with police, especially on camera. I will say that it's usually not good. On camera, it usually does not favor the police. I always heard that use of force doesn't ever look good. Well, in the same instance, when it appears that you are being negligent, or when it appears that you are not engaged, that you don't care, it's a really bad thing, and we're seeing this on social media. And so here's the picture. Just a warning, it is kind of graphic, but that is a woman on fire. And what we see is this police officer, again, reportedly from NYPD, just walking by. Now, at first glance, this doesn't mean too much to me because we don't know what's happening there. And I want to say that as we start this video off. And again, let me know where you're watching from. Leave it in the comments. This isn't going to be too long, but I do want to give a breakdown. Let me know where you're watching in the comments. Hit the thumbs up button to help us, because this is a trending thing. This is happening right now. People are starting to seriously crucify these police for what happened or didn't happen. And I want to give you the best breakdown I possibly can. Now, I will say, even though I was a cop, I don't just side with cops. Like, I'm not just loyal to the soil. Even that's how I felt when I was a police officer. If I saw something that was wrong, I would call it out. I don't care. I'm not there to be popular or to make friends. I'm there to serve and protect the public. So, make sure that you please thumbs up this video, share this video. Let's get the word out so that everyone can see what is happening, because this is it's a trending issue, it's a big issue, and it's not a good look at first glance for the NYPD. So let me see if I can get this video rolling. So let me pause it really quick. Let me see if I can do that. I don't think I have the ability to pause. We'll just play it on loop. Okay, so what we see here is we've got this guy in the bench off to the left side of the screen. Now, allegedly, and if I read all the research right, that is the guy who lit this woman on fire. So it is an illegal immigrant who was, I guess, deported in 2018, and now he's back. Reports say that he just walked up and lit this woman on fire. We're going to read the Reuters report here. Here's what it says happened. December 22nd, just yesterday, police arrested a man they said set a woman on fire while she appeared to be asleep on a New York City subway train on Sunday morning, killing her. The woman, who has not been identified, sat motionlessly aboard a stationary F train at the Coney Island Stillwell Avenue subway station in Brooklyn at about 7:30 a.m. When an unknown man calmly approached her and used a lighter to set her clothes on fire, the NYPD said. That's the New York Police Department. Police said there was no interaction before the attack, and they did not believe the two people knew each other. So as far as we know, this is completely unprovoked and horrific. The man got off the car as police officers on patrol in the station rushed to the blaze. Now, many articles say this, and so I want to say I haven't seen all the security footage. I searched for about 15, 20 minutes. I was not able to obtain any more footage of a different angle. I couldn't see police rushing, as the article says, However, I'm not inclined to believe that the article is lying just because we do have one angle where this cop, and again, if you look at the video I'm showing, you've got the guy on the bench who I believe is the one who set her on fire and then just watched. But then, look right here. You're going to see this guy just walk across, not like he's in a rush or anything. And that is allegedly a New York Police Department policeman. And I paused the video. I zoomed in. It does have the appearance of the NYPD badge. And, at first glance, I was wondering, is this a security guard? Is this, they hire security sometimes, or they'll have transit police. It could be but it does appear to be NYPD. And again, he's just walking by as this woman is on fire. Now, for context, I don't know how long she's been on fire, and it wasn't said in that video. You can see some movement back there, but unfortunately, in real life, I have seen people who were on fire, and the movement doesn't go on for too long, but it doesn't mean that they're dead. It can take a couple of minutes for someone to die from this, and the reason I'm saying this is because we don't know the condition of the woman as this police officer is walking by. And I will get into that. So don't think that I'm over here just defending the police or whatever. I'm not. I'm going to lay everything out like I always do. If you guys follow me for any amount of time, I don't just automatically side with someone. I do my research and I speak from experience. I try not to speculate. So let's go on. What they saw, referring to the police who arrived, was a person standing inside the train car fully engulfed in flames. This is from the New York Police Commissioner, Jessica Tisch, who said this at a press conference. Cell phone video published on social media, that's this video, by a horrified onlooker showed a man sat on a bench on a platform a few steps away from the burning woman dressed in a gray hoodie that resembles that worn by the suspect arrested later on Sunday. Again, so we believe that the man sitting there is the one who lit her on fire, and he just sat and watched. And yes, this picture does appear to be him. I will dump this photo onto this so that you can see. I don't actually think I can grab it. Yeah, it won't let me grab it. Anyways, he's wearing the same hoodie. Asked whether the man watching from the bench was the attacker, police said the responding officers had no reason to think he was a suspect when they rushed to the woman's aid. Again, let me speak as a cop who, has shown up on crime scenes and you have no idea what's going on. You show up and sometimes there's onlookers, there's bystanders, there's people who live in the area who came out. There were people who were there who witnessed it, who aren't involved. Like, you have no idea who is doing what, who was involved in what. You weren't there unless some of that specific information comes in, Now, if you're on the way to this call and they say, hey, a witness says they saw a Hispanic male in a gray hoodie light her on fire. Well, if I show up and see that guy, I'm going to put him at gunpoint and I'm going to give him commands to get him safe, because you cannot help anyone until the scene is safe. You can't, even if someone's life is at risk, if you don't eliminate the threat, then more people's life can be at risk. So the first thing you do, as hard as it can be at times, is make the scene safe, and you do it as fast as possible. But again, because reportedly these guys didn't know, they didn't have eyewitness information, they didn't know that he was the suspect. And so you've got this guy just waltzing past him. This is also something I will say that is very scary as a police officer, is that you do not know who is good, who is bad, who did what. Sometimes you don't get information until later. And so all of a sudden, you've got, you're showing up on a scene and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and you might be walking right up to the guy who just stabbed somebody and the witness information hasn't come in yet. Or you might walk right up to the guy who, whatever, and you don't even know. And so being a cop is an extremely dangerous job. There's a lot going on. And so I just want to give you perspective. Again, I'm not defending anyone, but I'm trying to give you perspective. Especially, I will say this, if you've never seen someone on fire, like, it's a horrible thing. The smell is horrific. It is the worst smell on the earth, in my opinion. I've smelled many different horrible things. Burning flesh is the worst smell. And so just that whole scene, I can smell that scene. it's a horrible thing, and it will mess with you. That is not an excuse. I'm just giving some perspective. Cops are human beings. However, you try to employ people that are going to spring into action. You know, even we go back to Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny saw something wrong and he jumped into action. You would expect someone who is a cop who has been trained to spring into action, right? There is a fire going on. Someone is clearly burning. You need to be hustling, you know? Maybe he didn't know where to go or what to even do. If there wasn't a fire extinguisher nearby, he didn't think to maybe take his jacket off and try to beat out the flames. Now, again, you're not going to beat the flames out of a human being who is fully engulfed. Like, one jacket is not going to get it done. A human being who is fully engulfed, by that point, apparently she didn't get to stop and drop and try to, roll out any flames or anything. By the time that she figured out she was on fire, it was obviously too late because it took her life. But I just want to give you a little bit of perspective on what a cop is rolling into when he shows up on a scene. But I will make this statement. It doesn't look good. And my first reaction when I saw this video was, dude, what the heck are you doing? Like, why are you not running? Why are you not sprinting to try to find a fire extinguisher, find a bucket of water, like try to find something. Don't just walk around. Like, a human being is burning and it doesn't look good. All right, let's continue with this article. So again, they didn't have any reason to believe this guy was a suspect, which is why they didn't put him in handcuffs right away. A lot of times, guys, this information can come out much later. There is a delay from when you call 911, because when you call 911, it goes to a dispatcher, okay? It doesn't go straight to the police department. So you make a call, it goes to a 911 dispatcher who then receives the initial information. And, if they're good, if they're halfway decent, as they're talking to you, they get the information needed to route it properly right away. That's why the first thing they're asking is like, what's your address? They need to know, who are we sending out? Are we sending fire? Are we sending police? Are we sending medics? Are we sending all of them? And so if you call in and say, hey, I'm at the so-and-so subway station and there's a woman on fire, they are immediately going to notify medics, fire department, police. Hey, there's a woman on fire. We're going to need emergency medical care and we're going to need police assistance. Here it is. But they have to route it to the proper, whoever has the, I'm losing the terminology, right? Whoever's district it is, basically. Whoever has the rights to that city, whatever that term is, it's just totally blowing my mind. Anyways, so then it goes to that dispatcher. So it goes from a 911 dispatcher to a police dispatcher. Then the police dispatcher has to air the call out to all the units, and then all of the units have to respond. So at best, you're looking at a couple of minute delay from the first time a cop hears it. So when I'm driving in my car and we hear the beep, beep, beep go off, and that's, it was an emergency alert tones, or we called it a toner. Whenever a toner went off, you already know, hey, this is within 3 to 5 minutes. It's not live. Like, it is not happening live. Now, the best case scenario is that once you're en route, your police dispatcher can get a hold of who's on the ground. And so they can be talking live and they can relay that information to you live. But the initial call takes some time to come out. And so I'm letting you know that because if they're getting the call that a woman was set on fire, well, it might take him 5 minutes just to get the call. And by the time he gets there, look, if someone's been on fire for 5 minutes, we're not talking about in a burning building. We're talking about the person is on fire. And it's a horrible situation. We had a situation where we could not get a guy out of a car that was burning on the side of the highway. Very sad, very tragic, and it is hard. Again, police are humans, but, dude, you've got to, if you're the first on scene, like, you don't just give up unless the woman is just totally, charred and, like, laying on the ground. But, again, I will show you a horrific picture. Let me see if I can pull this up. This is not a good-looking picture. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, I'm not here to bash on police, but I'm just saying this doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. Whether she was bent over something and she stayed like that, I mean, that is a human being who is actively on fire, and you've got a guy walking around. It looks like he's got his hand, I had my radio right here, so I'd always, I'd be trying to turn it up or whatever, depending on where I was at. That's not the time to be. I mean, dude, you gotta do something. You gotta do something. It's tough. And I know it's tough to look at, but guys, this is stuff that we deal with every day. And some people don't know some of the horrors that police have to deal with, and so I'm not here to excuse it. I'm just here to tell you there's a couple things we need to consider. And I'll show you some more. We'll look into some more things. We'll finish off looking at some heroic cops, because for every one turd, there's 10,000 good cops. Again, we talked about some things to consider. We got the safety of the scene. Is the scene safe? Just because, you show up and it appears to be safe doesn't mean it is. Again, these guys are walking by this illegal alien who just set a woman on fire. This is a very dangerous man, and you got this guy just waltzing by. And again, let me give a little perspective. We don't know. Based on the clip of the video, I have no idea. Is that the first time he walked by? Is it the second time he walked by? Had he already been there for a minute? I don't know any of the information, because we could find out tomorrow another video, and the cop had already walked by a couple of times and determined that the woman was dead. And so then he was kind of walking back and forth trying to see if there's anyone to interview or whatever. Like, you don't know. And so I just say that to say you have to be careful, especially with police stuff, when crucifying people online, if you have not seen all of the information. And clearly we haven't seen it all, because I only showed you a 15-second clip, and we've got a still image right here. Like, that is not all of the information, but from what we do see, it doesn't look good. Another thing you have to look into is the experience of the officer. Like, was he new? Was this his first time, his first call? I mean, within my first week of being not even on my own, within my first week of being in field training on phase 1, we had 2 instances where we had shootable suspects. One guy had just carjacked someone else, so stolen a car at gunpoint. And we came face to face with this guy, could have shot this guy on like my second day. And then a week later, we're dealing with another guy who had pistol whipped his girlfriend. And again, we're in a shooting situation. Thank God it didn't turn into that. But I'm just telling you, I was days out of the academy. And then even when you get off of field training and you're on your own, that's a whole different beast. It doesn't mean that you've got it all figured out. And I mean, they say it takes 7 years for a cop to really find his stride. And, at my department, again, they say 1 year is like 10 somewhere else. And so if you did 3 or 4 good years at Federal Way, like, you were pretty up to speed. Our cops were pretty high speed. We would train other cops on tactics and things like that. And so I'm bringing that up to say, like, you got to find out, what's the experience of this guy? Is this a new guy? And I don't think he was a security guard. I see some of the comments. Now, people are saying and speculating, again, I don't know for sure, but some people are saying that the guy who was recording this video, let me show it. People are saying that the guy recording this video was a security guard. Now, if that's the case, let me bring a little context to this as well. Security guards are not trained in the slightest like police. Even some of the best security guards that I met could not hold a candle to police officers. They don't go through an academy. They don't have the same vetting process. They don't go through a 4-month field training process. It is different. Most security places are looking to see, can you pass a background check? Are you able to carry a firearm? And they probably, by law have to have some type of shooting test, which is not that stringent. Our shooting test for the police where I worked, if you missed the target at all, and I'm talking about the black silhouette, if you even touched the white, you were an automatic failure. And if you couldn't pass your test, they would take your gun away and you'd have to ride the desk until you could pass your test again. Like, we did not let people on the road who could not shoot. And I don't just mean hit the paper. I mean hit the exact place where we are told to hit. Thank God, I was a pretty decent shot. I never had to give up my gun or anything, but we had very strict rules. But then you meet these security guards, and I met a bunch of them who thought they were glorified cops, and they're not. And that's okay. But what you don't need is security guards acting like police, because when it's time to do police things, you're going to be back there filming something with your video camera when it's like, dude, you signed up to protect people. Security guards, from my experience, security guards really, their primary job is to deter crime just by being a presence, okay? And their second job is to report crime. They are not necessarily supposed to intervene with crime. They don't have the training. They don't have backup. Usually it's just one guy and he has a gun for self-defense. It's not for offensive purposes. He's got a gun for self-defense. He might have a vest. He's got a radio. He doesn't have a squad rolling around waiting to back him up. And so you've got these security guards, and if they have a cop like superiority complex or something, they're going to go out there and try to be the hero. And I'm telling you, we had some security guards get their butts kicked, and some almost killed. Some get stabbed and stuff like that because they're trying to be the hero, when your job is just, look, dude, it's honorable that you want to help. Just stay where you can be seen so that you deter crime. And if you see something sketchy, just call the real police. Like, it's fine. Don't try to be the police, because you will find that even in hard times, there are police that display cowardice. And that is one of the worst things to me. And by the way, in Revelation, it says the first people that will go into the lake of fire are cowards. Let me just say that being a coward, that is no life at all. And so we've got to understand, even if people say, oh, I can't believe it was a security guard filming this. Well, I mean, to be fair, some of these guys are getting paid like $20, $30 an hour, and they're really only told like, hey, dude, just call the cops if you see something bad going on. Now, as a man, I don't care what job I'm doing. If I see someone on fire, I'm going in there and I'm going to try to help them out. That's just me as a man. Let me know what you would do in the comments, and be honest. Are you the person who's like, hey, I'm not trained, I'm not equipped in that. I would probably, stand by and maybe look for a fire extinguisher or something, but I'm not running in there because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm going to get myself killed. That's fine. But you've got to know where you're at, and that's why we need real men doing these jobs. We need real men who are going to step up and say, look, there's a woman on fire. I'm going to do everything I can to put her out. Dude, what if that was your mom? What if that was your wife? What if that was your sibling or your daughter or your son? Like, you would do everything. I would die trying to put my family out from a fire. I would die. I wouldn't even think about it. So you need people to sign up for this stuff who are not considering their own lives. And so, frankly, I'm not surprised if this video really did come from a security guard. Now, again, none of this stuff that I've talked about is an excuse, but it can give context, again, because we're dealing with human beings. Again, I brought this up earlier, but we can't tell. She might have been already dead. Again, if this guy's getting the call 3 to 5 minutes later, he shows up and, she's clearly dead. There's really nothing he can do. But I will say this, and we were taught this: the public eye and the public perception is a fight that we need to win, right? The eye is against us. The perception is against us. Even if most people like us, the perception, especially through media, is against us. And so we were always told, look, if you show up somewhere and there's a guy who got shot up like 10 times and he's laying in the middle of the road and he's clearly dead, if you're the first person to show up, you better start doing CPR. Like, you better start doing CPR until the fire department shows up and declares him dead. Let the medics, let the fire department declare him dead. It's not going to be you as the police. You are going to show up and you're going to work on people until the proper authorities come up who make the declaration of someone being dead. Now, obviously, if you show up and someone's like head is missing or something, there's nothing you can do. But if someone is, pretty much intact, and if a bystander would say, man, why is that cop not doing anything? You got to have that perspective going into it. Even at times, I showed up, my buddies got shot at, and they killed the guy, and we showed up and we made the scene safe. We waited, we cleared the area, we removed the firearm, and then we did CPR on the guy for a couple of minutes. And we bandaged up his wounds until the fire department could come in and declare him dead. This is a guy who just tried to kill 2 of my friends, but the right thing to do is try to save his life, because we don't shoot to kill, we shoot to stop. Okay? And that's something that people need to understand. We shoot to stop the threat. We do not shoot to kill. Anytime that I pulled my gun out, it wasn't to kill someone. It's because there was a threat and the threat needed to be stopped. And so you shoot until the threat stops. So there's videos where, you've got 5 cops on a scene and a guy shooting, and they all shoot like 10, 15 times. Okay, well, each officer is accountable for every bullet that he shoots. And so you're shooting, and again, they're human beings, so they're getting wrapped up in the scenario where their life is being threatened or someone else's life is being threatened. And so they're shooting until what they see stops. And when the guy goes down, or the suspect or whatever, that's when the shooting should stop, and you wait. And you'll see this in a lot of videos. They wait. They try to give commands, because sometimes people live. I mean, dude, there was a guy that our department shot 10 times because he came out of a van and he shot at 3 of our guys. They shot him like 10 times, and he was still alive. And they patched him up, and he's in a wheelchair now, but he's alive because our department saved his life. They didn't shoot to kill him. They shot to stop him from continuing to shoot. And once he did, they did CPR. They bandaged him up. He went into surgery. The guy lived. I'm just telling you, the heart of 99.9% of cops is good. And so when I see a situation like this, it bothers me because this guy appears to be doing nothing. And he clearly was either overtaken by emotion, was new, didn't know what to do, or he had no concept of like the public eye. Like, dude, people are watching, and they're watching you, the person they're waiting to do something, do nothing. It doesn't look good. Now, quickly, I'll divert because I have a question. It's a good question. Someone said, what about cops that shoot someone in the back? So there is something called the fleeing felon law, and that's kind of slang for it. It's Tennessee v. Gardner, and there's basically prongs to what makes someone shootable. And so I'll give you an example to try to bring some context to this. There was a serial rapist in our city. He would break into apartments and homes and things like that, and he would tie women up, and he would rape them, and then he would run away, and he wasn't getting caught. Sometimes he would do it at knife point. Even one time of this guy is shootable. He did this over and over and over again. I can't remember how many victims he had, but he would continually do this. And so there was a time when, I don't know if a witness saw it or the victim was able to, I remember. I think what happened was the guy raped this woman, and then he fell asleep, and the woman was able to wake up and call the police. And so as the guy is leaving the apartment complex, he's butt naked, and he's coming out of the apartment, and he's running down the street, butt naked. He's not armed. He's not anything. Let me ask you a question before I tell you what happened. Is this guy a threat to the public? He has raped forcibly, after a home invasion, has forcibly raped multiple women, sometimes with a weapon. Is this guy a threat to the public? Yes. Is it likely that he will do it again? Yes. Is it justified to stop this guy by any means necessary? Yes. And so what happened? My buddy Rob shot this guy in the back while he's running away. And you know what happened? He was a hero. The whole city was so grateful that they got this evil, evil man off the street. Now, you can't just shoot someone because they stole your TV or they stole your mail or they punched you in the face. That doesn't make them shootable. But we had another situation where we had these kids who had just committed an armed robbery of a 7-Eleven, and they were in a stolen car, and they drove off, and we spiked the car. We spike stripped the car. I think we pitted the car, and they were about to get out and run. We told them over the loudspeaker, we said, if you get out and run, you will be shot in the back. You are not leaving this situation except under arrest. And so I will say that there are times that police can shoot people in the back or shoot people who are unarmed, who are not compliant, because they have already met the prongs to demonstrate that they are a threat to the public. So just giving some context there, it was a very good question. A lot of people wonder that. Again, that is something that new guys, if they're not really dialed in on law and on procedure and then the experience piece, you see a lot of new people freeze up. And I was a field training officer for over 2 years. I saw a lot of rookie cops freeze up in the moment when they needed to act. But again, that public eye is so important. And guys, let me know right now in the comments if this is benefiting you at all. Are you appreciating this perspective? And if it is, will you give me a thumbs up on the video? Because I'm trying to bring a little bit of context for you guys to understand some things. Again, that public eye is so important. I've got to understand, dude, when I get in there, I've got to do something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm a cop. I'm the person who's here to try to help. I'm going to look for a fire extinguisher. I'm going to take my jacket off. I'm going to try to beat the flames out. I don't care if it's for nothing. I'm going to try to help as best I possibly can until the fire department shows up or it's obvious that, this is a losing case. And again, I will say the camera usually does not help the cops look good, even when they're right. I was always taught use of force is never going to look good. It just isn't. A person beating on another person, especially someone in authority, it doesn't look good. What also doesn't look good is apparent negligence or just like lack of care, this apathy, just kind of just walking by, not walking fast, not running, not seeming to care. It's not a good look. And even more than the video, I'll tell you, this picture is really just what bothers me. But again, and I will say this, we don't have context. And so before we get too spun up, we have to understand this picture, and I hope that we get some context, but this picture could have been, 8 to 10 minutes after the call came out. Like, this person, we can't see clearly from here. We don't know what's going on, but they could be obviously dead. Obviously dead. And so as much as it sucks, as much as it doesn't look good, there have been times when I just had to walk over a dead body. I had to walk around a dead body, and it's like out in the open because it is now a crime scene and you don't want to touch anything because you don't want to corrupt any of the evidence. Now, I will say that because of a fire, like, there's not going to be a lot of evidence on the person, but it is just practice that when you are in a crime scene, you don't want to touch anything you don't have to. You don't want to move anything that you don't have to. And so as uncomfortable as it is, even for me, when I was in these situations, you're kind of walking around, stepping over, like you wish you could do more, but when people are dead, they're dead. And that is another thing. I'm glad that a camera wasn't on me 24/7 because I could have had an instance like this where, they say, oh, look at this cop. He's just stepping over this dead woman like he's not even helping her. And it's like, dude, this woman's been dead for 15 minutes. Like, she's already been cleared by the medics. They're waiting to bring out the body bag, They're waiting for all of these other things to take place. Like, we have procedures. And so you just have to understand that there is a reason for everything. Now, again, I hope this is helping you and providing some context. Another thing I'll bring up too is when that guy did shoot at my friends and he was killed by the police, there were so many bystanders. And again, guys, this happened in 2017. So we're talking about not a great time to be a cop. And so we're standing around, and I think it was pretty late at night, but there was a good amount of people around, and they're screaming at us, oh, you killers, you whatever, you're not even helping them, you're not doing anything. We had already provided CPR for this guy. We had already cleared the weapon. We'd already whatever. The guys that were shot at had already been, checked out by the medics and were taken back to the police station as is part of procedure. And so you've got us kind of pulling security on a crime scene, and you've still got the suspect who is there. And a lot of times when there's a shooting or there's a bad crime or something like that, the suspect will stay put, if they're dead, or the victim will stay there until detectives can come, because then detectives can get a good idea. If you've ever seen these crime scene shows, the detectives will show up and the body's still there or whatever, and the cops are kind of give them a briefing. Well, you never thought watching those shows about the public perception of a bunch of cops walking around and you've got a dead person just hanging out there. They don't show that aspect. And so it is important to understand, like, there are times when there's just going to be a dead body in the area and cops are just walking around because there's nothing more to be done at the time. And that is an unfortunate part of it. It's very awkward to do. Again, it doesn't feel good to walk around dead people, but it's just part of, what are you going to do? Like, she's dead. We need the detectives to come now. What else is there? It's an unfortunate part of it. I will finally say it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. But with that being said, as we wrap up, I want to show you something that will hopefully inspire you. Check this out.
But a police officer rushed to rescue a woman from a burning car in Georgia.
This is what real cops do.
Had some help from Good Samaritans, too. ABC's Rhiannon Alley has those details.
A woman in Georgia, lucky to be
look how close the flames are. Guys, if you've never been close to flames that hot, if you've never been close to flames that hot, it's hot. It feels like you are on fire when you're that close to the flames. And also, you don't know if the vehicle's going to blow up or not. Let's look at this one.
Hot in here. I can't get out. My ankle's broke. I can't get out of my truck. Get me out of here.
I can't tell you what it's like to hear this from people.
ABC affiliate WSYX capturing a heroic police rescue, pulling a man from his burning pickup truck.
Are you still in here, Randy?
A man identifying himself as Randy, first calling 911 with brake trouble.
Look at this. That thing is on fire. The engine's on fire. This thing could blow at any minute.
Randy driving his truck into a highway pillar to stop. Among the first on the scene, Officer Gloria West, who's only been on the force for a year.
I'm not going to leave him in there.
Look, I'm not going to leave him in there. She won't say no, she won't take no for an answer, even though he's stuck.
Other officers helping her get him to safety just before the car explodes.
Look at that.
He was smoking.
Car just blew up right there. This stuff happens. These cops are risking everything. And so I just want to end on this to remind you that there are amazing, brave men and women in uniform out there. And again, we don't fully know what happened. We don't have all the details. I hope I brought a little bit of perspective to you, some things to consider. But I will say, first glance, it doesn't look good. So let's be praying for all involved. This is a horrific incident. Again, it is a massive failure on the current administration, who has let millions of these people into our country. And I thank God for the new administration that's coming in. They're going to conduct the largest deportation event that has ever occurred in the nation's history. And they're going to start locking these guys up. This guy was here. He was deported, I think 6 years ago. And now he's back, and look what he does. He commits this absolutely evil, evil crime, and he sits there and he watches it. That is someone who is totally demonized, and they need Jesus. Only Jesus can set someone free that's that demonized. But when it comes to the police, let's not be people who demonize them ourselves. Now, if all the evidence comes out, if all of the facts and circumstances come out, if all of the footage comes out, and it is true that these cops could have done something and they did nothing, man, they need a fry for that. But if it comes out and it says, look, this video was taken and it was this many minutes afterwards and they'd already declared her dead, then I hope that some of these people who have been posting things will make a retraction post and say, look, I shouldn't have jumped the gun. I didn't know all of the circumstances and I just went off of a soundbite. We hate when people do that to us, but oftentimes when it comes to first responders, people are very quick to do it to them. And so I just pray that I've given you a perspective, a couple of things to think about as we pray for this unfolding situation. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you soon.